This is part A of the Kudila television channel, broadcasting on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Manifesto Editions. This is part A, timed at 12:20 GMT on Bank Holiday, Bank Holiday Monday, 27th of May 2024. Yesterday's Sunday Times magazine, which runs the cover story promoting the American singer, late American singer, Carrie Fisher, also contains a feature, quite detailed feature, promoting the BBC Radio 4 presenter Mishal Hussain. And Mishal Hussain is not being discussed by the Sunday Times magazine in any way in context about the British, American, Western, anti-Muslim promotion of Malala Yousafzai, because Malala Yousafzai has been intentionally created as an image representing, according to the creators and promoters, representing the alleged hostility and antipathy of Muslims towards educating girls. Whereas Mishal Hussain, the feature on Mishal Hussain, discusses the British end of the British imperial occupation of the subcontinent in 1947. And Mishal Hussain is promoted as a polished promoter, a mental slave of the narrative that denies the existence of British Empire and its end in 1947. Existence over 190 years, 1757 to 1947. Now, quite apart from Benazir Bhutto, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's daughter, women in Pakistan, women in the subcontinent, Muslim women in the subcontinent, have always been as able, as equally allowed to get education, so-called, as women from other faiths and religions. So the creation of the Malala Yousafzai myth is not done by Malala Yousafzai herself. She was hijacked. Her particular experience was hijacked by the West, and she was turned into the image that she has become, to the point that the British and the Americans engineered the consolidation of Malala Yousafzai, the image, by getting her a Nobel Prize. The stamp of the ultimate kind of endorsement and credibility. All of these lies are accentuated by the likes of Mishal Hussain. Mishal Hussain is not to be compared with the mental slave Trevor Terrible Phillips, who was given a platform on Sky News on Sunday to promote his own version of antipathy to Muslims, generally an antipathy to Pakistan, because Pakistan is associated forever with the concept of Muslims' rights as opposed to any other country. Which is why, despite the fact that Pakistan is not a next door neighbor to Israel, the Zionist state, Pakistan is the target number one for demolition. Not because of what is happening within Pakistan, but the association with the name Pakistan is the association with. So in the piece in the Sunday Times, Yusufzai is not mentioned, and the interview is by somebody called Rosie Kinchan, who says that she is of Sri Lankan background and identity. She is a mental slave as well. There is nothing in the British media, either in print or in broadcast or otherwise, that actually recognizes the truth. It is all various layers and decorations of lies, and the lies go back to the crusade. The crusade is based on the antipathy of the Western Christian imperialist domination against the emergence and establishment of Islam as a faith and as a community around Islam across the world. So everything that Nigel Farage was allowed to spout with the help of mental slave Trevor Terrible Phillips is a repeat, perpetration of the old, long-ranging antipathy to Muslims everywhere, regardless of the nature of the state where Muslims are, or nature of the state that has majority Muslims in the demography or in the actual population, holding positions in the state concerned. Pakistan is a relatively new state where Muslims hold positions. But Pakistan is treated as if it has always been there at the beginning of Islam, nearly 1500 years ago. So the symbolism of Malala Yousafzai being promoted, even if they don't mention at each incident of promotion the word Pakistan, is a promotion against Pakistan, against Islam, against Muslims, regardless of the Muslims who, like Matthew Saeed in the Sunday Times, do not acknowledge their connection with any Muslim in the parents. For example, Matthew Saeed's father is a Pakistani origin Muslim, but Matthew Saeed clearly denounces Islam and Pakistan, and is the narrative that is going on since the commencement of the crusade more than 1,000 years ago. The symbolism that is being used by promoting Mishal Hussain. Mishal Hussain is the nearest comparable element to the Australia kind of brainwashed Afghan Western broadcasting woman called Yalda. Now, Afghan language doesn't have Yalda as part of its nomenclature. But the Yalda was created by the Australians, the British, the Americans, as an agent, cultural agent illustration of anti-Muslim Muslim. And Malala Yousafzai and Mishal Hussain as symbols could not be more significant, because none of the positive, truthful contributions made by Muslim people to objectively international society is recognized to begin with. The first presumption is of denial. There is a book review also on a book written by a British army general who was subservient to the genocidist Winston Churchill in the 1940s. A year after the 1943 famine of Bengal, caused by Winston Churchill. So that was 1944, when Hastings, the general that is the subject of the book review by Max Hastings, who is ironically called Hitler Hastings because of the terrorizing role he played while he was editing the Daily Telegraph in the 90s, late 1980s, early 1980s, 90s. There is no mention in the book review by Max Hastings of the massacre of innocent Bengalis. Millions, 3 million Bengalis at least, perished in the genocidist starvation and famine caused by Winston Churchill in 1943. Now that was 4 years before the departure of the British from the subcontinent. And the departure is never referred to as liberation, freedom, independence. Instead, it is referred to as partition. Of course, partition is part of the events that happened in 1947, in August 1947. But the main event was the end of the British Empire. The British imperialists interfered every single second of the 190 years with any, even the slightest emergence, slightest sign of unity among the Muslims and the Hindus and the Sikhs and people of other faiths, as they continued to crush all signs and symbols of independence and freedom, all yearnings for independence and freedom throughout the 190 years. Now, after the 190 years end in 1947, they have continued in a different way, and the continuation of the different way is evident in the continuation of the creation of the likes of Mishal Hussain, of the likes of Tariq Ali. Tariq Ali was invented as a socialist. Nothing could be further from the truth about Tariq Ali's pretension to socialism. Tariq Ali's main contribution from the time he was invented by endorsement of Michael Heseltine et al. Was to demolish all the arguments, the fundamental arguments in support of the creation of the state of Pakistan for Muslims. It wasn't a state of Pakistan for the military. It was the state of Pakistan created for the defense, the protection, the safety of Muslims. Hundreds of millions of Muslims. Today, 27th of May 2024, in India, there is this longest running election taking place. But the election in India is by excluding Muslims. There are more than 200 million Muslims in India. But in effect, de facto, the Muslims are excluded. This is what was foreseen. This is what was foreseen in the 1930s, 1920s, 1930s. Up to 1947, this is what would happen, the Muslims said. That the numerical majority controlled by the Brahminists, now the Hindutva protagonists, they would suppress the Muslims. And everything that Narendra Modi has done in the last 10, 11 years has actually proven what the Muslims had feared. But that is not acknowledged in Mishal Hussein's article. Mishal Hussein's article is a racist wash. Racist wash against the arguments of all the Muslim leaders. The main Muslim leaders are not recognized except in the Pakistani narrative currently. The main Muslim leaders for Pakistan as a safe home for Muslims recognized only Jinnah, but they don't recognize the other Muslims in mainly what is now Bangladesh. And the fact that there is Bangladesh solely is because of Pakistan, despite the fact, ironically, of what happened in 1971, that Bangladesh separated from Pakistan in December 1971. But the fact that Bangladesh continues is because of Pakistan. So the arguments for Pakistan remain alive as long as Bangladesh continues. The leaders of the movement for Pakistan in Bangladesh, what is now Bangladesh, were, of course, the tiger of Bengal, Fazlul Haq, Sher-e Bangla, Fazlul Haq, and later the Maulana Abdul Hamid Khan Bashani, and others. So Mishal Hussein's partition is a fakery continuing the fraud and the lies. And the massacre that her piece accompanies, the promotion is from the book Broken Threads, My Family from Empire to Independence. The actual treachery by Mir Zafar Ali Khan in Bengal, that is in 1757, the treachery was followed by 190 years of treachery and collaboration. The collaboration was carefully crafted by the Hindutva majority in the population. The leader, Netaji, Subhash Bose, made were undermined by the Hindutva forces. And Ahmed Jinnah himself as the leader of the Muslim League keep the unity of Muslims and Hindus together. He broke down at Howrah Bridge near Kolkata as he confessed to one of his followers, observers, that the Hindutva leadership had spurned him. As Sarojini Naidu, born in Bikrampur, not far from Dhaka in Bangladesh, recounted in her book Contributes to Jinnah, he was the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity, and he was in tears as he admitted that his efforts were being finally destroyed, obstructed. So all the mythology that the British and the Sunday Times, for example, the BBC, perpetrate about Pakistan, against the Muslims, are intentional lies to undermine Muslims and Islam and the Muslim community. So when Nigel Farage is given another platform by the anti-Muslim, the proven anti-Muslim liar, an exploiter of Muslim connection for decades when he was married to a quote Muslim, Trevor Terrible Phillips, was done in the knowledge that telling the truth about the Muslims would undermine the liars, not the liars only against Muslims, but the liars against the society. In Britain, for example, as Private Lie, current edition of the fortnightly Private Lie, uses the phrase, the country now is littered with public inquiries, littered. And the reason why there are public inquiries littering the United Kingdom is because there is no such thing as British values. The phrase that nasty Nigel Farage was allowed to spout on Sky News by the anti-Muslim Trevor Terrible Phillips. P is spelled P-E-E-Lips. sums it up. If there were British values, then Boris Johnson during the COVID-19 would not cynically, that is criminally, negligently and intentionally celebrate the fact that so many thousands of people resident mainly in the care homes were dying because of negligent policies and lack of care. More than 20 years. For more than 20 years, sub-post mistresses and sub-post masters, innocent people, were persecuted by the British Post Office, a government department, government agency, with the collusion of the British government. The Japanese Fujitsu conglomerate carried out the persecution by refusing to withdraw the lies that had been perpetrated against the innocent postmistresses and postmasters. And even now, after the inquiry, after the dramatization of the events on ITV, the British government, fronted by Rishi Sunak, is persisting in collusion, commercial collaboration with the Fujitsu conglomerate. And it is not Sunak alone. Other ministers in the UK government are complicit even now. So there is no British values whatsoever. Masses and masses and masses of British innocent people are being denied, deprived, killed by British government behavior. Even nasty Nigel Farage, who keeps popping up for no reason whatsoever, under any kind of excuse, and is forever present on the media, either as a presenter or as a guest. Nasty Nigel Farage, for the last more than a year, has festered as a figure about the discrimination he suffered by banks. But literally millions of people in the United Kingdom, absolute majority of whom are not Pakistanis, not Muslims, not young, have been discriminated against and deprived of their rights to banking services. But that has never been acknowledged either by Sky News or by the BBC or by the print media, Sunday Times or the Times at all. So where were the British values? Where is the British values? There is none. And then the Hillsborough massacre, more than 30 years ago in Sheffield. The fans who were massacred came mainly from Liverpool. Where were the British values there? Where is the British values for the last more than 30 years? So Nigel Nasty Farage should never be allowed to spout such deadly lies against innocent figments. Young Muslim young people apparently deride British values. That is a lie. More non-Muslim young Britons know that there is no such thing as British values whatsoever. But they are not mentioned, not by Farage and not by Sky News, which is complicit in the lies, the proven lying by the likes of Farage. And when she presents the Today program, Michal Hussain doesn't compensate for the lies, the inventions, and the misinformation that has been going on since long before the word misinformation became part of the public vocabulary. When she was supposedly reporting from Cairo on the Arab Spring, she should have been reporting against the dictatorship that prevailed in Cairo. But she didn't. It's a watered down version of the propaganda that the regime in Cairo would prefer. And that is what has happened in the years, 13 years, 14 years since she reported in 2011 from Cairo on the Arab Spring. There has been no follow-up. Innocent campaigners for democracy, universally understood, objectively understood democracy, have been being persecuted, murdered, starved, and deprived of basic human rights, both in Egypt and elsewhere, in Tunisia, where the Arab Spring began, in Algeria, in Morocco, in Syria, and of course in Israel, the Zionist occupied Palestine. So the partition that Michal Hussain is talking about in her book should have been edited, rewritten, to tell the truth about the subcontinent in the context of the antipathy by the crusaders across the world against Muslims. And that would have been the context, but that is not the context that her publishers would want, allow, tolerate, approve of. What is happening in India under the Hindutva regime fronted by Narendra Modi has been going on for nearly 80 years. Every single day that has passed in India since August the 14th, 1947, has been a day of decreasing rights, equality, tolerance allowed to Muslims. And Muslim population in the current count amounts to more than the population of several European countries put together. We shall be continuing on all of these. And before ending this one, we say that all of these continue to contribute to the manifesto, Baby Angel Geronimo Manifesto, which is intended to serve as the counter to the lies that have been perpetrated against the baby angel Geronimo by the depraved DEFRA department. And we shall be updating on all of these. There are on the items list names like Shamima Begum being betrayed, let down by the London Borough of Tower Hamlets Council, and her friends being allowed to be groomed, and the lies that have been suppressed about Shamima Begum include the lies about the role played by the phantom Muslims controlling the behavior and conduct and the access to the East London Mosque in Whitechapel in Tower Hamlets. We shall be continuing on all of these in due course in later editions. This is ending at just over 36 minutes long at 12:47 hours GMT on Monday, Bank Holiday Monday, 27th of May 2024.